In 2018, the New South Wales Department of Education decided to conduct a review of the OC and selective tests, and they found an alarming discovery. It was too easy. So in 2020, the New South Wales decided to partner up with Cambridge Assessment in order to reform the entire test, making a few changes to maths, English and writing, but the biggest by far was definitely replacing general ability with thinking skills. But what is thinking skills exactly? How is it any different to general ability, and how do you practice for it? In a 5-part series, I'll be answering all these questions and breaking down everything you need to know in order to ace thinking skills. Now, before I start, I want to let you guys know I'm giving away a free thinking skills sample exam with written solutions to absolutely anybody. Just email me with the subject named video 1 and I'll send the exam straight through. You can find my email in the link in the description below. Now, the next 4 videos are yet to be released, so please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get an update when the new videos come out. Anyways, welcome to Thinking Skills Breakdown, the intro. Let's first start with a bit about thinking skills. Thinking skills is a 40-minute, 40-question exam, as opposed to general ability, which was also 40 minutes but for 60 questions. So yes, this means you have more time for each question, but naturally so, that means each question is going to be harder. Much harder. See, while in GA you could get questions like this, and this, where the answer was simply one dictionary search away, there are no such questions in thinking skills anymore. See, in thinking skills, they removed the memorizing part and instead tried to redirect its focus towards more in-depth thinking. So what is this in-depth thinking that they're trying to test? Well, luckily for us, the New South Wales Department of Education actually defines for us the 2 skills they're trying to test. The first one is problem solving, which they define as the capacity to systematically explore a complex problem scenario, devise multi-step solutions to take into account all constraints, and adjust in the light of feedback received. Okay, wow, that's a lot. Let's break this down into 3 simple parts. Number 1, systematically explore a complex scenario. This means when you're given a problem, you need to be able to process the information provided in order to understand exactly what's going on and also understand exactly what it is you're trying to find out. Number 2, devise a multi-step solution. All right, now that you know what the question is about and you know what you want to figure out, it's time to create a game plan in order to go from here to the answer in the quickest way possible. Now, this can be done through algebra, through guess and check, or through drawing Venn diagrams. Whatever strategy you use, it changes completely depending on the type of question you're dealing with. And number 3, adjust in light of feedback. This means if anything goes wrong, either you couldn't get an answer or you got a wrong guess, you need to be able to figure out exactly what went wrong and how you can fix it. So altogether, when you're given a question, you need to be able to understand and process the problem, come up with a strategy to get to the answer as quick as possible, and fix any mistakes you make along the way. Now, that was the first skill, problem solving. The second skill is critical thinking, which is defined as the ability to recognize and develop arguments, use evidence in support of those arguments, and drawing reasoned conclusions. Now, this skill is a bit easier to understand. It's basically how good is your understanding of arguments, what makes them strong, and what makes them weak. Now, for clarification, this isn't arguments in the sense of people yelling at each other, but arguments in the sense of I have a belief and I have evidence to support that belief. So those were the 2 skills, problem solving and critical thinking. Now, what are the types of questions to expect in the exam? Now, if you were to just look through a sample paper, just scan through it, you'd get a bit overwhelmed. All right, a wide array of questions, asking all sorts of things. But if you actually take time to read through it carefully, you start to see a pattern. Certain question types repeating itself throughout the exam. Now we can actually break thinking skills into 4 distinct family of questions. First one is critical reasoning, which is all about judging an argument or reasoning. In this family of questions, you'll be given an argument or reasoning, and you'll be always asked to do one of 4 things. You either strengthen the argument, weaken the argument, find the mistake in the reasoning, or judge whether a piece of reasoning is correct or incorrect. Now, though the passage may change, the question stays the same. What does this mean? This means if you have a good understanding of how reasoning and arguments work, you'll be able to ace these questions every single time. Now, secondly, verbal problem solving, which is all about processing and breaking down a very vague and messy problem and arriving at the answer in the quickest way possible. Now, these types of questions are usually nicknamed logic games. And that's because that's what they really are. They're really just games that you have to solve using your logic. Though they may look unpredictable at first, if you take a closer look, you start to see its generic formula. First, you're given a scenario, then you're given some rules. Now you apply the rules to the scenario and bam, you got your answer. To ace these questions, it's best to be systematic and patient. Trying to rush things without a strategy is a surefire way to lose marks. Number 3, abstract problem solving, which is similarly about breaking down a problem, but now the problem is not in the form of words, but in the form of shapes and patterns. Though the scenarios in these types of questions are usually more straightforward, the difficulty comes from somewhere else. See, abstract problem solving requires the use of a skill called spatial reasoning, which is the ability to manifest and manipulate objects in 3D space all in your mind. For example, they might give you a shape, right, and they give you the front side of the shape, and they'll expect you to be able to visualize what that shape will look like from the top view, from the side view, maybe even from the bottom view. So how do we improve in this area? Well, fortunately for you guys, you can improve your abstract problem solving by simply improving your spatial reasoning. And you can do this through a number of fun activities which require visual and mental planning. Finally, mathematical problem solving, which is about dissecting a problem that involves numbers. Now, there's often confusion when it comes to this family of questions, and it's this: how is this any different to mathematical reasoning, which is another subject in OC and selective? Well, if you do a few questions, the difference starts to come out quite clearly, and it's this: in these types of questions and thinking skills, it's not about maths. See, the maths and thinking skills is significantly easier than in mathematical reasoning, and it's like that for a reason. The reason being, in these questions, the focus of the question is in the thinking, in the planning, and in the logical reasoning. The maths is simply there to wrap things up and get you an answer. So to improve in these questions, and that's it for our little intro. So as a recap, there are 2 skills that thinking skills focuses on: problem solving and critical thinking. And there are 4 distinct family of questions to expect in the exam: critical reasoning, verbal problem solving, abstract problem solving, and mathematical problem solving. Now, I actually have a Facebook group named OC/Selective Thinking Skills Preparation, where I upload free advice and questions every single week with written solutions. So if you want some free practice, give that a join. In the near future, I'll be uploading videos which focus in depth on how to ace each individual family of questions. So stay tuned for that too. But until then, I'll see you guys later.